All right, welcome and hello. We love to have people here at Beaverdale Books. It's great to see you all and share tonight's book talk with Bruce. Before we begin, I want to mention some upcoming events that we have. We will have our summer local author fair this Saturday, August 2nd from 1 to 3, featuring 5 authors with a variety of genres. Mark your calendars for Nicole Terizzi with her book, Learning in Freefall, on Thursday, August 7th at 6:30. Jan, my counterpart here, read the book. She said it's outstanding and it's great for teachers or people interested in education. And then Friday, August 8th at 7 p.m. is our open mic poetry night with Kelsey Bigelow. She specializes in spoken word. Find out information about details of these events on our website, pick up a flyer at the counter, or sign up for our newsletter to keep up on our events all year long. Now, on to tonight's program. Bruce Weitz set out to look at the past, present, and promise of citizenship. Using examples from his ancestors, his life, and his future hope, he wanted to encourage citizenship and its pursuit. His new book, The Pursuit of Citizenship, Past, Present, Promise, seeks a greater awareness of the conditions that prompted German immigration, life in America for those immigrants, and the contributions they made as they assimilated. The book includes some Iowa and Dubuque history, as well as moments from the author's childhood and young adulthood. Bruce has been a Federal Express courier for over 30 years. He and his wife, Crystal, have 2 grown married children. They reside in Ankeny, and Bruce enjoys reading, watching sports, traveling, yard work, and backyard birds and balloons. Welcome, Bruce.
Well, thanks for coming. Just a few thoughts on how the book came to be. I have a brother, one of my brothers, that did research into ancestry. And as he did that and sought to share some of that with the rest of the family, I kind of picked it up myself as far as taking an interest and decided I wanted to learn more about our heritage. And as that curiosity grew, and then thought I would like to do some writing on it, the theme of citizenship began to formulate as I went along. It wasn't an intention from the start, it just worked out that way. So it also includes, the book also includes aspects of that person is a fascist. What does that mean? So I have a chapter called Coming to Terms. And I also share there that that is not an exhaustive list. You can add things to it, add to those definitions. As I have myself, since I've written the book, I've added 5 or 6 or 7 more. Mm-hmm. And I had a brother that said, "Oh, you missed some things. You know, you could have added so much more." He thought I should have put the word plutocracy in there, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. There's a lot you could put." So anyway, that's how that came to be. And then also, the second to last chapter dealt a lot with our open borders and immigration as a whole. And so there's descriptions and definitions of what some of those agencies are, the USCIS, Border Patrol, all those different things. So we've gone from, as a nation, extremes, like whiplash. So we've gone from open borders, people coming in like crazy, and now deportations. But you don't hear anybody talking about citizenship. And so that was part of my motivation too, is to emphasize that and to have an appreciation for our citizenship. And not just an appreciation, but an encouragement for those who don't have it. So that's how that came to be. So what I thought about doing was sharing some things from the different chapters. I thought, I'm not going to do that because I want you to read for yourself. So rather than share things from the book, I wanted to share some things that I've learned since writing the book. So let's see, what was the first thing? The first thing I had was I give a list of relatives personal relatives that have served in the armed services, going all the way back to the Civil War. A great Uncle John served in the Civil War. And then to the point of one of my dad's cousins who died in World War II. And I never even knew that happened until I started doing this research. Well, his name was Leonard Peter Weitz, and you'll find out from the book that there were several Peters throughout. My great-great-grandfather was Peter. My great-grandfather was Peter. And now this is one of my dad's cousins. Like I said, he was Leonard Peter Weitz, but his father was Peter. So anyway, when he died, a note, or obviously the notice, sent back home to his parents to notify them of his death was, well, he died July 5th, 1944, and then a notice went to him and to the family, and that was, what was the date on that? No, I'm sorry. He died May 13th, 1944, and the notice went out July 5th. Well, I noticed that the general that signed that notice, I noted his name, and so I did a little research on him. J.A. Ulio was his name, and he was instrumental in switching the age of service from 21 to 18. And the service numbers then, from the beginning of World War II, were 200,000 to 18 million by the time the war was over. And so he did 2+ years of service, and he sought to have rapid communication. Well, some of us are FedEx drivers. We know what communication can be nowadays, and obviously with the cell phone, you find out pretty quickly if something has happened to somebody. Well, you noted how long it took for the family to be notified. But he, in his mind, wanted to ensure rapid delivery of those notifications. He had signed over 900,000 casualty notifications through that period. So it gives you a little sense, and maybe there's a little correlation there between the reduction of age and the number of people that died, which I've never heard until I started thinking about that. So another thing I included in the book was Dubuque had purchased a town clock, and when they put that town clock up, that was in 1864. Well, in 1872, that town clock came tumbling down. And I connected that story of the town clock coming down with my aunt dying. It was moved, the location of the town clock was moved, but she died of a heart attack at the town clock in 1985. So I made the connection between the two, but I didn't do a very good job of it, because after I got the book out, a cousin emailed me and he said, by the way, the two people that died when the town clock fell were relatives of ours. Distant relatives. So my great-great-grandfather was married, and his first wife died. He remarried. Anna was her name, and her maiden name was Ellwanger. Well, the Ellwangers were the ones who came to Dubuque first, sort of. There was a cousin or a relative before them even by the name of Yeager that ended up in Dubuque. So what was interesting also finding out after the town clock, well, the Dubuque paper wrote an article in the Dubuque paper about that happening. So they went back in time, and interviewed people that were there. Well, there was one guy that was riding his horse down the street, and what happened, the reason that town clock went down was because they're doing excavation with a building next door. And the workers that were working on the foundation, noticed cracks forming. And they were like, you got to get out of here. They could tell what was happening because the town clock was super heavy. And they warned people, like I say, the 2 women and a baby died, and their name was Ellwanger. But in 1931, when the Dubuque paper did an article about that happening, it spoke about a guy that was going down the street on his horse, and he saw it happening. And he saw something was going to happen. Because not only was the excavation taking place, but it was raining. And that soil was kind of sandy. So that contributed to it too. So anyway, it said in that particular article, the city fathers voted in the funds necessary for restoring the monitor of sleeping and waking, working and playing in 3 meals a day to the tower on Main Street, where its great bronze hands and deep solemn voice still warns Dubuquers the verity, life is short and time is fleeting. And so I just thought that was a really interesting thing to have said about it. So the one of the Ellwangers I discovered also after writing the book, and due to that cousin that emailed me about those relatives, was that one of them went on to become pretty wealthy in Dubuque. And his means for doing so was through business. That particular family had 8 children. Well, this one child by the name of John Peter, at the age of 13, graduated from college. And this college was called the Bayless Business College. And it was founded in 1858. And it cost $5 for a class, but you were told you had to bring your own spittoon. Yeah. So he, after he graduated, began his career, and he went through various stages of doing apprenticeships and different jobs, and then he eventually ended up working in wholesale business and grocery. But then they transferred it to becoming liquor sales, and then that grew. As a company, he sought to become the biggest liquor salesperson in Dubuque. And let me say this, in between some of that time where his business was growing, they had also taken time to build a bridge from Dubuque to East Dubuque. At that time it wasn't called East Dubuque, it was called Dunleth. And otherwise they used a ferry for everything, getting back and forth. They built a wooden bridge to get across the river, and they had to make it high enough for the steamboat stacks, the steam stacks, to get through underneath there. So anyway, they ended up calling that Dubuque High Bridge. Well, as time went on, in 1916, I didn't realize this, but Iowa became a dry state before the nation did. And so that was his business. So he thought ahead, and he moved his business over to East Dubuque. And so in the process of doing that, the fact that Iowa became a dry state, all the liquor business went over there, and the sales for liquor licenses, even though they doubled the sales, they still went up. They were getting into that business. So when that happened, and he moved his business over there, then the nation became prohibition, and that was in 1919. But it didn't take effect until 1920. And so when the people knew that was going to happen, they just rioted. They went crazy because they wanted their liquor. Even to the point where they were going to tear down City Hall. And so the fire department got out, and they got their hoses, and they started spraying the rioters. But these hoodlums went over, and they just cut the hoses. So they reduced it to a dribble. So that all took place. And then that particular relative He had actually died before all that took place. He died in 1917, but his son had taken over the business. Any guesses as to how he died? Cirrhosis of the liver.
I was going to say alcohol.
There you go.
Oh my.
So that was some interesting further things I found out about that. So
Really?
the book comes from a pretty conservative standpoint, and I am unapologetically pro-life. And one of the things I say about in the chapter on, or not necessarily a chapter, I have a chapter here called Facing Issues. And so it's a variety of different issues that I feel like are bringing our nation down, whether we realize it or not. So those issues are things like divorce, gambling, abortion, anyway, probably a few other things in there. But in the process of dealing with the issue of abortion, I say this. It is interesting to note that since abortion was legalized, the technology and ability to keep premature babies alive at earlier and earlier points of development has steadily improved. What did we just hear last week? Did y'all hear the news?
Yeah.
That Ankeny couple, Randall and Molly Keene, with their premature baby Nash, and what they are now able to do for premature babies is proof showing that, hey, this is a life, and they did all they could to keep that baby alive. And one of the doctors for that, Dr. Stanford, the neonatologist, they have a term called hemodynamics. And it's because they know that in order for that baby to go on, it has a lot to do with the blood and the vessels and the heart. And they're capable of it. And it was only, and it's not a good thing to become part of the Guinness Book of World Records because you have a premature baby that's the earliest born baby. You know, that baby having weighed the weight of a pop can or a grapefruit, I mean, that's incredible. And it was only by one day that they beat the record. It's kind of crazy. But they're in the record books.
Yep.
But anyway, that was amazing to me, and it just made me think of what I had written there. Another thing, so not only did I have moments of finding out things like what I've already shared, but I also had some, like I shared with Eric this morning, or was it yesterday morning, where I had some duh moments. Like why didn't I include that? Dealing with the whole area of immigration and citizenship, I did not include the oath of citizenship, and I should have. You know, it's one thing that it said, and it's been since 1795 that was written, largely unchanged, and that's why it has a little bit of archaic language in it. But I'm going to read it for you. And this is what the oath says: that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law. That's what they sign on to. And that's what we want. We want people coming in that would have those kinds of same ideals, same values that we have as Americans. The things that set us apart. Not just open borders and non-sovereignty. It's what we should all want. And so as I think about the idea of that whole thing and trying to encourage citizenship, I do have a appendix in the back for places where people can go for websites and such who are not citizens, who want to find out what it takes. And when people are signing on to give the oath, there's a cost involved, over $700, but there's also a waiver for people who might have financial hardship to do so. And they even have a waiver for people who might have mental or something that capacity where they're not able, where you don't really think they're completely understanding what they're doing. They have a waiver for that. The last thing is not necessarily something I thought that I should have put in the book, but something I thought in reference to the book. And that was, there was this teacher back in 1893 who went from Massachusetts, took a trip across the United States, stopped at the World's Fair, the World Columbian Exposition in Chicago, the White City as it's called. They saw that, and then from there they went on to Colorado Springs. While in Colorado Springs, when she finished her duties of teaching, the guy in charge says, "We need to go up to Pikes Peak. You need to see that." And she's like, "Well, I don't think I can get up there." She says, "No, it's no problem. You just take a wagon up this far and then a donkey the rest of the way. We'll make it." And so she did that, and this is what she penned in the process of that. "Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet, who with stern and passionate stress, a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thy every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty and law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, in every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream, that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea." That's Catherine Lee Bates. So I was just struck by that and reading about that, and I want you to realize it wasn't always a song. Mm-hmm. It was a poem that she wrote out, and it sat for 2 years in a notebook. She just kind of forgot about it, and then she remembered it, and she sent it into a Christian magazine to be published. And it was published on July 4th, 1895. So, in thinking about that, what it really is a prayer. You call it a hymn, but it's a prayer. And that's what I would want for people to think of this book, as a prayer for our country. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Any questions?
How long did it take you to write the book? Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I was like, this seems
It's
like
a couple.
lot.
It's
That
a
seems
couple
like
year
a
process.
lot. What'd you say?
It's a couple year process, but it's not a very long book. It's an
Okay.
easy read.
Yeah, a lot of research though.
Yeah. So Crystal helped with editing.
A little. Nice.
Bruce, I was really impressed by the oath of citizenship there. I don't know that I'd ever heard it, or at least it's in its entirety. It almost sounds like an immigrant getting U.S. citizenship is almost, according to that, on a higher standard than a natural-born citizen. Yeah. A natural-born citizen, pretty loose and free, and could, basically do anything. That's a pledge to a high standard, a very high standard, it sounds like. And I hadn't ever thought about that before. And then also, we've heard of dual citizenship with another country. How how does something like that work?
There's an example I give of friends that
Okay,
did that.
I
Remember
missed
that?
I missed that.
The Matthews that went to Australia. They're in Australia now, and they have
Uh-huh.
dual citizenship. Crystal's brother married a gal from Uganda.
No, Ghana.
Ghana,
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
live in England. Wow.
Yeah, and so he took on dual citizenship as well.
That's
There was a long time where people would look down on kind of like having two wives or whatever. So in a sense, kind of look down on. But I don't have a problem with people wanting to do that because sometimes it just makes sense for them to be able to be in the country and have all the same things that country provides, their way of benefits or whatever. Yeah, even Mexico changed the law. I'm trying to remember the year. It was like 98, where at first they were not allowing people to have dual citizenship, but now they do.
I'm familiar with that, coming from northern New York State, right next to Canada, 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
And I still have probably Canadian relatives over there. But I do have friends that have dual citizenship because of their jobs,
Yep.
where they live, and they
Yep.
go back and forth. I'm curious if they are having issues now with what's going on in the country with Canada, you know, how it works with their jobs.
I guess I'll let them go back and forth, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a tourist area, and that's,
Niagara Falls, kind of.
no, it's even
Even
further
further
north.
north.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions?